It's not the kind of job you put on your resume, but here I am, sitting across from a locked steel door, waiting to meet one of the most dangerous creatures in the world. I work as a public relations officer at a government facility designed to house the most dangerous monsters on the planet. On paper, it's a prison. In reality, it's more like a containment unit, a place to keep things out of sight, out of mind. It's a secret the world doesn't want to know. I wasn't always in this line of work. I had a cushy job as a communications specialist at a tech firm. But when I saw the ad in the paper, seeking communication specialists for a government contract, confidential, apply within, I was intrigued. The pay was enough to make me consider the transition, even if the details were murky. No one ever tells you exactly what you're signing up for when the government's involved. And now, here I am, working at the Federal Containment Facility 13, a prison for creatures that should never have been allowed to walk this earth. Some of them are criminals in the traditional sense. Others, well, they exist outside of that. They are not human, not really. Some are ancient beings. Others are the result of bizarre experiments gone wrong. But the bottom line is the same. They're dangerous. They don't belong in society, and it's my job to communicate with them, to interview them, to understand them. I'm the one who sits across from them, trying to get inside their heads, hoping to glean something that can help the authorities control them. Today, however, is different. Today, I'm scheduled to meet the most notorious inmate at the facility, the one who cannot be named. That's how the files refer to him. His real name is lost to history, erased by the fear his name caused. What we do know is this: he's a monster in the purest sense of the word. Not human, not even close. And his reputation precedes him. He's killed countless guards, caused untold destruction. He's intelligent, he's manipulative, and he's housed in the deepest, most secure part of the facility. My assignment today is simple: interview him. But nothing is simple when it comes to the one who cannot be named. I sit at the desk, my palms sweating as I glance at the clock. I'm a professional, trained for this. I've interviewed the other monsters here: vampires, werewolves, ghouls, and even one harpy. But none of them have the same reputation as this one. I've heard the stories, how he can bend minds, how he can manipulate people with a single word, how even the most hardened guards refuse to speak of him in anything but hushed tones. It's a job, though. That's what I tell myself. I'm here to gather information, to document my findings, and hopefully find a way to communicate with him. Maybe it's foolish to think that a monster with a reputation like his could be reasoned with, but that's why they brought me in. Someone who can cut through the chaos with words. Someone who can listen, truly listen, and find the angles others miss. I take a deep breath and turn toward the door. The guard on the other side of the glass nods at me through the window, and the door opens with a loud metallic groan. I step into the sterile, white hallway, the silence amplifying my every footstep. The guards are in place, their eyes trained on me. They've seen what happens to those who don't take the proper precautions when dealing with this particular inmate. The hallway ends in a reinforced steel door, larger than the others, emblazoned with a number, 666. I stop in front of it, feeling my heart skip a beat. I've been prepared for this, but standing here now, the weight of what I'm about to do hits me. The fear isn't physical, it's deeper than that. I'm not afraid of what he'll do to me. I'm afraid of what he could make me do to myself. The guard beside the door keys in a code, and the door clicks open. He steps back, gesturing for me to enter. I take one last deep breath, then walk inside. The door slams shut behind me with a heavy thud, and I'm immediately struck by how cold the room feels. The air is thick, damp, and suffocating, almost as if the walls themselves are alive, absorbing the fear that lingers in the space. The room is dimly lit, with just enough light to make out the silhouette of a figure sitting motionless at the far end. The walls are bare, with only a few small flickering bulbs above me to cast long shadows across the floor. I can feel my heart pounding, the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I step forward. My shoes click against the concrete floor, each step echoing louder than the last in the empty silence. The man, or the creature, I remind myself, is sitting in a chair facing the wall, his posture rigid and still. It's almost as if he's been waiting for me, and I'm not sure if that's reassuring or terrifying. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. I take another step closer, my throat dry, my mind racing with questions, and yet I'm at a loss for words. I'm trained for interviews like this. I've spent years learning how to communicate, how to break through walls with words. But this is different. This is him. His name is an unspoken legend within these walls. The guards here don't talk about him much. Even the senior staff avoid his name in casual conversation, and the few who have dared to face him in the past rarely speak of their experiences. I've read the reports, the details of his violent outbursts, his power. But reading the files and actually being in the same room with him are two entirely different things. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, he shifts slightly in his chair, breaking the silence. His movements are slow, deliberate, as if he's savoring the tension. His head tilts slightly toward me, but his face remains hidden beneath the shadow of his hood. There's something almost unnatural about the stillness of the room, like the space itself is holding its breath. "You're the new one." His voice is low, gravelly, like it hasn't been used in years. It sends a shiver down my spine, vibrating in my bones. His tone is neither kind nor cruel, just flat, as if he's used to making observations but doesn't really care about the answers. I swallow, gathering the courage to speak. "Yes, I'm here to conduct an interview." He lets out a soft chuckle, the sound sending chills down my spine. An interview? How quaint. I step closer, my voice steady, though the nerves are evident. "I'm here to understand you, to understand how you think." Understand me? He leans forward slightly, and for the first time, I can see a glimmer of his face beneath the hood. His eyes are sharp, glinting like they're studying me, piercing through the walls I've built around myself. His eyes are strange, too black, too deep. "I don't think you'll ever understand," he says, his lips curling into a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. It's the kind of smile that could freeze a person in place, like the calm before a storm. "But you're welcome to try." I try to steady myself, but there's something about his presence that makes it hard to breathe. The room is getting colder. The silence is almost unbearable now, and I feel the weight of his gaze on me. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach, that primal fear that I've only ever read about in books. "I've read your file," I say, my voice wavering only slightly. "You've been here for how long?" He chuckles again, low and deep. "Longer than you can imagine." The walls of the room seem to press in around me as I take another step forward. I can feel myself getting closer to the edge of something I'm not sure I'm ready to face. But there's no turning back now. I need to finish this interview, get the answers that I've been sent here to find. His smile fades and his eyes grow colder, more calculating. "You don't understand. It's not about time, it's about control. I stop, my breath catching in my throat. Control? Of course, he says, his voice smooth as silk. What do you think keeps me here? What keeps all of us here? His lips curl into something darker now, like a knowing grin. It's control. The illusion of control. And you're here to play your part, just like everyone else. The weight of his words hits me harder than I expected, sinking deep into my chest. He's right. He knows exactly why I'm here. He knows what this job is really about. I'm not just here to understand him. I'm here to manage him, just like I'm here to manage the rest of the creatures in this prison. And that's when I realize the truth. There is no understanding him. There is only surviving him. I try to hold my ground, forcing myself to focus. What makes you so dangerous? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. What's different about you? For a long moment, he doesn't respond. He just watches me, those black eyes boring into me like he's searching for something. When he finally speaks, his voice is low, deliberate. I am the darkness that everyone fears, the thing they can't control. And you, he leans forward, his face inches from mine now. You will never control me. I could feel the room closing in on me. The darkness, the weight of his words, seemed to settle into every corner of the cell with us. I tried to steady my breath, though it felt like I was choking on the air itself, the thick silence pressing against my chest like a heavy hand. His eyes, those black, endless eyes, they didn't blink, they didn't move. They were unblinking mirrors that reflected my own unease, my own fear, and magnified it 100-fold. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. He was like a predator. Every word he spoke was deliberate, designed to cut through my defenses, to pull me into his web. He leaned back in his chair, his smile returning, but this time it was different. It wasn't a smile of amusement. It was a smile of someone who knew they had the upper hand, a smile of someone who had already won. You think you're here to understand me, to talk to me? His voice was smooth, like honey dripping from a spoon. But you're wrong. You're not here to understand me. You're here because you can't stop wanting to know what makes something like me tick, what makes a monster tick, and that's where you're mistaken. I swallowed, trying to maintain my composure. I'm not here to satisfy curiosity, I said, though even as I spoke, I could feel the doubt creeping in. Wasn't that exactly what I was here for? The intrigue, the fascination with the unknown, the urge to understand what made this being, this thing, so dangerous. That's exactly what you're here for, he interrupted, leaning forward again, his face inches from mine. I flinched, but didn't pull back. You think you can use your words to dissect me, to understand me. But words are nothing. They can't contain what I am. I swallowed again, fighting the urge to back away. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me intimidated. I had a job to do. I had to remain professional. No matter how many times my pulse raced or my breath quickened, I had to hold on to the semblance of control. What are you then? I asked, my voice steady, though I could hear the tremor beneath the surface. What makes you different from the others? His laugh was soft, but it rattled my bones. Different, he mused, tapping a finger against his temple. Is that what you want to know? What makes me different? Well, let me tell you. It's simple. I'm the one who breaks the rules. You're all so obsessed with the rules, with the order you think you can control. But what you fail to realize is that the rules are meaningless. They're a cage, and I'm the one who thrives in chaos. The air around me seemed to shift again. the temperature in the room plummeting. I felt my skin break out in goosebumps, but I stood my ground. I wasn't going to let him manipulate me, no matter how his words stung. I had to get something out of him. I had to find a way to break through the barriers he had set up, if only to understand how dangerous he really was. "You think you're different, but you're just like the rest of us," I said, forcing my voice to stay even. "You're trapped. You're here, just like all the others. You can't escape. You're imprisoned, just like them." The smile on his face twisted, and for the first time I saw something shift in his expression. The calm facade cracked for just a second, and I saw something darker behind his eyes. His mouth twitched and the air seemed to grow colder, the shadows in the corners of the room pulling tighter. "You don't get it, do you?" His voice dropped lower, almost a growl now. "I'm not trapped. I'm not in a cage. The cage is in me." I blinked, unsure of what he meant. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice quieter now, the words slipping from my lips before I could stop them. He laughed again, but this time it was darker, filled with something I couldn't quite place. "The cage is in me, because I'm the one who built it. The walls you see, the chains that bind me, they're all my doing. I made them. I created this prison." I took a step back, my mind reeling from what he had just said. This wasn't just a maniacal rambling, it was something else. He wasn't just a prisoner of the system, he was the architect of his own cage. I had never met anyone who spoke like this, who had this twisted perspective on reality. You built this place?" I managed to ask, my voice betraying me again. His lips curled into a smile that was far too wide, far too knowing. "I built it long before they brought me here. I built it when I realized that I was the one who controlled everything." His eyes glinted in the dim light. "I am the monster. And this place is nothing. It's just a reflection of my will. You can try to lock me away, but I am always here." A heavy silence hung between us, and for the first time since I had walked into the room, I felt a true sense of danger, not from his actions, but from the depths of his mind. He wasn't a monster because of what he had done. He was a monster because of what he had become. Someone who had learned to control everything around him, even from behind bars. I knew then that I was no longer just interviewing a prisoner. I was facing something far more dangerous, someone who didn't need freedom to wreak havoc. The real monster wasn't behind the bars. The monster was the one who had created them. I stood there, rooted to the spot, trying to process what the prisoner, the monster, had just said. His words echoed in my mind, reverberating with an unnerving clarity. "I built it. I created this prison. What does that even mean? How could a prisoner build a prison?" The more I thought about it, the more I realized that his mind, his way of seeing the world, was not something I could easily understand. He wasn't simply a dangerous person. He was something else entirely, something that transcended the usual definitions of crime and punishment. He was the embodiment of chaos, of power, of control, and no cage, no prison could contain that. His dark eyes remained fixed on me, and I could feel the weight of his gaze pushing against me, like invisible hands forcing me to confront the very core of who he was. He wasn't afraid of me. He wasn't afraid of anything, and that made him more dangerous than I had ever imagined. "You still don't get it, do you?" His voice was smooth, almost lazy, as if he were bored with the conversation. "You're just like them, trapped in your little box, playing by their rules." I clenched my fists, a surge of anger rising in my chest. He was right. I was trapped in this cycle, bound by the same rules that had been imposed on me the moment I stepped into this place. But I was different. I was here to understand, to make sense of it all. I wasn't a prisoner like him. I was in control. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my thoughts. "I'm not like them," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "I'm here to help you, to understand why you are the way you are. And I'm going to find a way to get through to you." He tilted his head, almost as if he were amused. His grin stretched wider, and his eyes seemed to glimmer in the dim light. "Through to me?" he repeated, his voice thick with irony. "You think you can understand me? You can't even understand yourself. You can't understand them." I frowned, not sure where he was going with this. "Them? Who do you mean?" "The others," he said, his tone laced with disdain. "The ones you're here to help? The ones you're trying to control? You think they're just like you? You think you can tame them with your little interviews and your well-meaning words?" His laugh was low, cruel. "You have no idea what they really are, what they're capable of." I felt my throat tighten, the fear creeping back in. He was talking about the other inmates, the other monsters. I had seen some of them before. Their eyes, their unnatural movements, their presence, they all carried an air of danger, but none of them had the aura that he did. None of them made me feel so small, so powerless, as he did now. I leaned in slightly, trying to keep my composure. "Then help me understand. Tell me what they are, what you are." He sat back, his expression thoughtful, as if considering my request. For a moment I thought he might not answer, but then he spoke, his voice quiet but laced with a chilling calmness. "We're all the same, really. We're all just pieces of the puzzle, trapped in a game we never agreed to play." He tilted his head again, his smile never wavering. "The difference is, I've learned how to play the game. And you? You're just a pawn." His words cut through me like a knife. A pawn. I had always thought I was in control, that I had power because I was the one holding the pen, the one conducting the interviews. But now, in this room, with this creature before me, I realized how naive I had been. "You don't understand," he continued, his voice growing colder, more intense. "You think they're monsters. You think I'm the monster. But that's what they want you to think. That's what the game is all about." I took a step back, my mind racing to keep up. "What are you talking about? The monsters aren't the ones you think they are." His words hung in the air, thick with a sense of finality. "You and your kind. You're the real monsters, the ones who created this world, the ones who decided that there are rules, that there are prisons, that there are things worth controlling." I shook my head, my breath quickening. This couldn't be real. He was just trying to mess with my mind, trying to get into my head. I had to stay focused. I had to stay strong. But something in his eyes told me he wasn't lying. He wasn't just playing a game. He believed every word he said, and maybe he was right. Maybe we were the ones who had built this world, this system. Maybe the monsters weren't the ones in the cells. They were the ones holding the keys. They were the ones who had decided who got locked up and who got free. I took a deep breath, trying to center myself. "You don't have to be this way," I said, my voice softer now, but filled with determination. "You don't have to be a prisoner. You can be free. All of you. There's a way out of this. There's always a way." He leaned forward again, his eyes narrowing. "You don't get it, do you? There's no way out. Not for you, not for me, not for any of us." His voice was like ice, cutting through the air with finality. I felt a cold chill sweep through the room as I stared into his eyes. The game was over, and in the end, we were all just pieces, pawn and monster alike. I could feel the weight of his words pressing down on me, like the walls of the room were closing in. There's no way out. Not for you, not for me, not for any of us. His voice echoed in my mind, reverberating through my thoughts, feeding the growing unease that I couldn't shake. The room seemed to grow colder, darker, as if his words were seeping into the very walls of the prison. The oppressive air felt suffocating, and I struggled to stay grounded. I took a step back, my heart pounding in my chest, trying to steady my breathing. I couldn't let him break me. I couldn't let him convince me that there was no hope. I had spent my career helping people, trying to understand them, trying to guide them towards something better. This was no different. It couldn't be. "You're wrong," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "You're wrong. There's always a way out. You don't have to stay here. You don't have to be this." The creature in front of me, this monster, laughed softly, but it wasn't a laugh of amusement. It was a laugh of someone who had seen it all, someone who had lived through it all and knew the bitter truth. "You don't understand, do you?" he said, his voice low, filled with something darker now, something closer to anger. "You think I want to leave this place? You think I want to be free?" I blinked, taken aback by the intensity of his response. I had expected him to dismiss my words, to mock me. But now there was a flicker of something deeper in his eyes, a depth of pain, of regret that I hadn't expected to see. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice softer, curiosity pushing through the layers of fear. "You don't want to be free?" He paused, the smile fading from his lips, and for a moment he seemed vulnerable. But only for a moment. He closed his eyes and let out a deep sigh, as though the weight of his own existence had become too much to bear. "Freedom is a lie," he said, his voice hollow, echoing in the silence. "You think you're offering me freedom, but you don't even know what it means. You don't understand what it's like to be trapped in your own mind, in your own creation." I frowned, stepping closer, trying to understand. "But you're not the only one trapped here. We're all trapped in some way," I said, my voice quiet but insistent. "The system, the rules, the walls, they don't have to control us. You can choose to leave. You can choose to be different." His eyes snapped open, and he met my gaze with a fierce intensity. "You think I've never tried?" he snarled, his voice rising. "You think I haven't fought against this?" I stepped back, startled by the surge of emotion in his words. He had seemed so calm before, so confident in his belief that there was no way out. But now, I could see the cracks in his facade, the cracks that revealed the desperation and anger underneath. "What do you mean? What is this place? Why are we all here?" For the first time, he seemed to hesitate, as though he was deciding whether or not to tell me. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. "This place is a reflection of who we are." He paused, his eyes narrowing, as though the words he was about to say were not meant for me. "We're all trapped here because we created this place. We created these rules, these walls, this system." I blinked, trying to process his words. "But we didn't create this," I said, my mind reeling. "You're saying we're all complicit in this?" The figure didn't answer at first. Instead, he stared at me, his eyes piercing, as if trying to gauge whether or not I was ready to hear the truth. Then, with a deep, heavy sigh, He spoke again, his voice softer now. "Yes," he said, his tone filled with bitter truth. "We're all complicit. We've all created this world of rules, of control. You're here because you're just like the rest of us. You think you're different, that you can solve the puzzle, that you can save us, but you're wrong. You're a part of the system, just like me." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always believed that I was different, that I was on the outside of it all, trying to help the monsters understand the world and find redemption. But now, I wasn't so sure. Was I just as trapped as they were? Was I just as complicit in this web of rules and control? "It's not that simple," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm not part of the system. I'm trying to help you, to help everyone." He shook his head, his smile returning, but it was bitter, twisted. "You can't help us. You can't help me. We're all part of the same cycle, caught in the web of our own making. And you're just another player, another piece in the game." I wanted to argue, to push back, but something in his words hit me, something that I couldn't deny. I had spent my entire career trying to break through the walls, trying to help others escape the prisons they had built. But now I realized that I wasn't outside of it. I was inside it too. The figure leaned forward again, his eyes narrowing. "You've been chosen. The game's already begun, and there's no way out for any of us." The finality in his words hit me like a cold wave. I wasn't sure how long I stood there, my mind spinning, but finally I turned away, the weight of his words pressing on my chest. I had thought I was different, but now I wasn't so sure. I stood there, frozen for a moment, the weight of his words crushing down on me. I thought I understood the situation. I thought I could fix it. I was here to understand, to help, to break the cycle of violence, but now the figure, this creature, had shattered my perception. "There's no way out," he had said. "You're just as trapped as we are." I could feel my pulse quickening, the cold sweat on my palms as I clenched my fists. My thoughts raced. Was he right? Had I spent my entire career working toward an impossible goal? Had I become part of the system I had so long sought to break? The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't shake the sinking feeling in my chest. What was the point of trying to help, of trying to break through, if the system itself was unchangeable? If the people I had been working to understand were also trapped in the same web I had woven around myself? I could feel the walls of the room pressing in on me again. I couldn't breathe. The air was thick, suffocating, and the shadows seemed to grow longer, pulling at my every movement. The figure in front of me watched, unmoving, as if he knew exactly what I was thinking, as if he had been waiting for me to come to this realization. I shook my head, trying to dispel the thoughts swirling in my mind. I wasn't ready to give up. I couldn't be. I had spent years studying, learning how to communicate with the monsters, how to break their walls, to help them find redemption. I had to believe that it was possible. But then, the figure spoke again, his voice low and filled with a chilling sense of finality. "It doesn't matter how hard you try. You can't change what we are." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "You can try to talk to me, to find the key that unlocks my mind, but you will never reach it. Not unless you embrace what you really are." My stomach twisted, but I didn't let the words get to me. I wasn't giving up. I wouldn't. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice shaky but firm. "You think I'm just like you? That I'm part of this system? I'm here to break it. I'm trying to help you." "Help me?" The figure interrupted, its voice growing louder, colder. "You can't help me. You can't help anyone in this place because you're just as much a part of it as we are." I took a step back, my chest tight. The intensity of his words hit me harder than I wanted to admit. For the first time, I felt the full weight of my situation. Maybe I wasn't here to fix things. Maybe I was part of a much larger problem, a problem that no one could solve. Maybe the system, the cycle, was built too deep to escape, but I refused to let the realization paralyze me. The job I had come to do was still important. I couldn't let this monster, this creature, convince me that I was powerless. I couldn't let him convince me that the job was futile. "You don't get to tell me who I am," I said, my voice gaining strength. "You don't get to tell me I'm part of this system. I'm here to make a difference. You're wrong about that." The figure's smile twisted into something darker, more sinister. "You think you can change things. You think you can make a difference. But every time you think you're making progress, you're only deepening the cycle." His voice dropped to a whisper, the finality in it enough to make my blood run cold. The cycle never ends, and it never will. I stood there, staring at him, feeling the weight of his words press down on me. The room seemed to close in again. The shadows stretched longer, reaching for me. I could feel the oppressive air, the suffocating pressure building around me, as if the room itself were tightening its grip on me. But I wasn't going to break. I wasn't going to give in. I had come too far to let this creature, this monster, convince me that I was as trapped as they were. I had a job to do, and I had to finish it. I clenched my fists and took another step toward him, my gaze unwavering. "I won't let you manipulate me. I'm not like you, and I won't be part of this system." For the first time, the figure seemed to pause, its expression darkening. The air around me grew heavier, more oppressive, but I didn't back down. I wasn't going to let fear control me anymore. I wasn't going to let this place win. The figure studied me for a long moment, its eyes boring into mine. Finally, it leaned back in its chair, a slow, deliberate movement. "You'll learn." The figure's voice was softer now, as though it had resigned itself to something. "You'll learn what happens when you break the rules, when you push too hard." The words hung in the air, heavy with an unspoken promise. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but I didn't retreat. I couldn't. I wasn't going to be another pawn in this place's twisted game. I took a deep breath, standing tall, and with every ounce of defiance I could muster, I met the figure's gaze. "Number, I will not become part of this." For a moment, the figure didn't respond, and then, as if something in the room had shifted, it simply nodded. The smile returned to its lips, but this time it was different. "We'll see." And just like that, the air seemed to settle, the weight lifting slightly. But I knew it wasn't over. I had made my choice, and the consequences of that choice were still yet to come.